Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our third Thursday conversation at the Prince Agency, LLC. As you know, every month between February and September, we host Third Thursday community conversations that are free to our community, and we have a variety of topics. Today, we're going to be hearing from Kristen Hartnagel. She's a personal brand strategist, founder of Evolve Now, where she helps people move beyond limitation and reconnect with their own wisdom, joy, and purpose. As a founding member of the Brand Builders Group, Kristen has helped hundreds of entrepreneurs, authors, and thought leaders clarify their message and amplify their impact. But her deepest passion is helping people create meaningful change from the inside out. Many of you remember Kristen's previous presentation on finding joy after grief. Today, she's back to share insights from her newest work, the Quantum Collective Joy Lab, an experimental approach to creating more clarity, self-trust, and fulfillment through the power of shared intention and collective imagination. Melinda, our agency principal, has worked with Kristen in the past, and she had some words to share. Kristen has been my personal business coach and Prince Agency brand strategist through some of the most pivotal growth chapters of my journey. Her insight, vision, and guidance have consistently helped me expand what I believe is possible. Every time I interact with Kristen, my world becomes a little bigger, a little brighter, and full of new possibilities. So please help me join Kristen for our today's conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all being here. And honestly, Melinda, wherever you are, I want to thank you for bringing me back, because it's just such a joy to be talking with people like you on topics like this. And last time we gathered, we did talk about finding joy after grief. And some people actually came up to me afterwards to share their stories with me. And I just love that. That means so much, because one thing I've learned through my work and just through a lot of conversations is that every person you meet is carrying something. Sometimes it's grief. Sometimes it's uncertainty. Sometimes it's simply that quiet feeling that says, something needs to change. Or maybe it's, I know there's more for me, like I am meant for more, but I just don't know how to get there. Can anybody relate to that?
No.
Good. You guys are my people. I have to confess something. When I was going through my own spiritual journey, I really thought that my spiritual assignment was to change everybody's mind. Seriously, like I would read a life-changing book, like The Power of Now or Conversations with God or The Shack, and I would think every human on the planet needs to read this book. I'd come home from retreats completely transformed and start handing out recommendations like Oprah. You get a Dr. Greg Braden book. You get a Bruce Lipton podcast. You get a Joe Dispenza meditation. And you know what? It just seemed like I wanted to share that excitement. I'm pretty sure that when my family saw me coming, they were like, oh no, Kristen's been to another seminar. But honestly, it was not about the books. I wasn't trying to convince people to believe what I believed or to share what I wanted to know or to think like me. I just wanted to talk about it with someone, to bounce ideas off of someone, to see what sparked. I wanted to ask, did this feel as life-changing to you? What did it inspire in you? How did it make you want to show up differently? I was just hungry for exchange. And honestly, I did believe that if I could find just the right book or just the right quote or the right idea, it could change everything. It could fix everybody. Turns out, people don't change because we push them. People change when they feel safe enough to grow. And that realization changed me, because my job isn't to change people. My job is to change, my job isn't to change people. My job is to love people and maybe create spaces where transformation can happen naturally, like this space here. And when I stopped throwing my enthusiasm all over everybody about my latest favorite author and started listening more, I noticed something. It's exactly what we were just talking about. It's that every person is carrying something. People are hurting. People are overwhelmed. People are questioning. People are longing for something more. And underneath so many of those conversations, I kept hearing the same thing. Something feels off. We want more, but we don't always know exactly what's missing. And I think that's what's happening for a lot of people today, is that they feel disconnected. Disconnected from themselves, disconnected from one another, disconnected from hope, disconnected from possibility. Technology has helped us become increasingly connected digitally, yet many people have never felt more alone. Researchers tell us that a sense of loneliness and disconnection impacts not only our emotional health, but our physical health as well. In fact, studies have suggested that chronic loneliness can have a health impact comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's where that slide was supposed to come in. Sorry for the little bit of foreshadowing earlier. And we see the effects everywhere. When we feel disconnected, it can feel just like too much for us. We're overwhelmed, we're second-guessing ourselves. We might care deeply about our lives and the world around us, but sometimes we just feel powerless to do anything. And quietly, many of us are carrying more than anyone realizes. I know that feeling personally. After walking through the loss of my mom, my dad, and my sister Lauren, and having the sacred privilege of being present with each of them at the end of their lives, I started asking myself different questions. How do I live more intentionally? I mean, I still get to be here. How do I experience more joy? How do I contribute something meaningful? And maybe because loss has a way of clarifying what matters, I became endlessly curious about human transformation. Why do some experiences change us forever, like a seminar or a book, while others just fade away? Why do some people actually embody what they know, while others just keep collecting information and hoping things will be different somehow? And somewhere along the way, I realized something surprising. Disconnection isn't really the root problem. Isolation is. Trying to hold that vision for change from whatever it is that inspired you, all alone. That isolation can sound like, you really think you can change? Or, you can handle it, don't burden anybody else with this. Or, nobody's really going to understand this anyway. And those thoughts might be protective, but they're quietly keeping us stuck. It can feel paralyzing, wanting things to change, but feeling powerless to make a difference because I'm just one person, right? And feeling that isolated despair, we gradually disconnect from ourselves, from each other, and from hope that actually anything can be different. And when hope disappears, it's easy to believe this is just how life is. But I don't believe that. And that's what eventually inspired me to create something called the Quantum Collective Joy Lab. Because every time I was a part of a mastermind or a retreat or a community, something was ignited. I felt energized. I felt hopeful. I even felt accountable. I wasn't trying to become a better version of myself all alone. And I realized that shared intention transforms hope into momentum. And I think I understand why. Because I believe what you give attention to expands. If it's fear, fear expands. Problems, they expand. Possibility expands. Love expands. Gratitude expands. So if that's true, what happens when it's not just your attention? What happens when several people are holding hope with you? What happens when shared imagination amplifies what you're calling into being? Maybe that's why community feels so powerful, because hope was never meant to live in isolation. Hope grows in relationship, in connection. For more than 10 years, the quote in my email signature is one by Margaret Mead, and it says, "Never doubt that a small group of people, of committed citizens, can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has." I've always believed that. And now, not only do I get to experience it, but I get to help others experience it too. Over the years, I've created what I call the 5 fields of shift. Teaching all of that would probably require a weekend retreat. And if that's something you're into, let's talk later. But today, I don't have enough time to cover it all. So I simply want to share one idea that I believe can create immediate change in your life. And because we don't have time to go deeply into everything, I created a free resource for you called the Future Self Activation Guide. It's 5 questions to rebuild self-trust in a noisy world. And it includes one of my favorite practices, the Future Self Journal Prompt. So just shoot me an email with your first name in the subject line and the word guide at khartsings@gmail.com. And in full transparency, when you do that, you'll also get occasional encouragement and updates from me. But this is my free gift to you. So let's talk about how to get more out of what you actually want out of life. One of the very first gatherings of the Quantum Collective Joy Lab taught me something I wasn't expecting. Our inspiration source that month was Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. We talked about ideas that had changed us. We shared what we hoped to create in our own lives and in the world. We did a beautiful meditation together. And honestly, nothing dramatic happened during the session. Nobody got fixed, nobody gave advice, nobody jumped in with solutions. People simply listened. We witnessed one another. We held space. We imagined possibility together. But then, a few days later, one of our members, Georgie, reached out to me. She wanted to tell me about a breakthrough she experienced. She said it was like her heart opened and she found herself seeing a relationship in her life completely differently. It led to an unexpected and wonderful forgiveness experience with her brother. And I remember thinking, of course it did, because sometimes transformation doesn't happen because somebody gives us the answer. Sometimes the answers we're searching for have been inside us all along. We just needed the setting to be able to hear them. And I think that's what so many people are hungry for. It's what I was hungry for, that exchange, not more information, an experience, a safe place where they can say, this is what I want. This is what I'm dreaming about. This is who I hope to become. And have someone respond with, I see that for you. I believe in you. I'm holding that with you. Because isolation is the death of dreams. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to talk yourself out of something? Especially when nobody even knows you're carrying it. You tell yourself, it's silly, I'm too old, it's too late, who do I think I am? And before long, that dream quietly withers away on the shelf. But when someone says, I can see that, tell me more. What would that look like? Hope starts moving again. It was in groups like this that I began noticing the power of 3 things: attention, intention, and connection. Earlier, I mentioned that I believe that what you give your attention to expands. Because where attention goes, energy flows. And energy is the catalyst for any kind of change. If we're focused on fear, fear grows. If we're focused on problems, problems grow. But if we're focused on gratitude, love, possibility, what's next for you, for the world, when we're focused on joy, those things grow too. I like to think of thoughts as currency, like cash. We're always investing somewhere. So the question becomes, what are you paying attention to? Where are you depositing your thought coins? And what might compound if more than just you invested in that vision? Think about that elevated attention. Second is intention. Most people are very clear about what they don't want. But when is the last time you asked yourself, what do I actually want? Do you want more peace, more joy, more friends, deeper relationships, more purpose, better health, laughter, connection? Do you know what that looks like? Because you can't intentionally create a future you haven't clearly imagined. That's intention. And third is connection. And this is the piece that changed everything for me. Stop carrying your dreams alone. Tell somebody. Invite support. Allow yourself and your dreams to be witnessed. Because when shared imagination enters the picture, something shifts. Energy shifts. Frequency is amplified. Possibilities expand. Hope becomes momentum. Maybe that's why so many of us leave retreats, conferences, and mastermind groups feeling so alive. It's not because we suddenly learned something we didn't know. It's because we remembered who we are in the presence of other people who were remembering too. So here's my invitation to you. Speak your vision out loud, not someday, today. It's possible that somewhere along the way, you learned that it wasn't safe to share your dreams. Maybe somebody laughed. Maybe somebody dismissed you. Maybe someone thought they were protecting you. Whatever happened, I want you to hear this. Keeping your dreams hidden may feel safe, but it comes at a cost. Because nothing is more soul-denying than continually ignoring something you're being called into. Give your dreams air. Let them breathe and watch what happens. Because what you sense on the inside can begin to take shape on the outside. Now, I'm going to ask you to do an exercise with me. I'd like you to take a minute to think about someone very special. And I don't mean your spouse or your children or even your best friend. It's you. I want you to think of your future you, the future version of yourself. That person sitting a few years ahead. That person has already walked through what you're trying to navigate right now, but they're wiser, calmer, more grounded, and they're incredibly grateful for the work you're doing today. So I'd like you to write down this question. What is my future self thanking me for right now? I mean, if that person could hug me, like if she could hug me, what is she glad that I'm doing? Go ahead and write that down. What is my future self thanking me for right now? And then maybe ask, what do I need to trust even more deeply? What do I need to trust more deeply? Now, here's where it turns into an actual exercise, because I want you to take some time just to answer those questions. Write down your answer. And then if you're here in person with us, like so many of you are, I want you to turn to the person next to you and just simply share what came up. This isn't the time for fixing or advice. We're just listening. So I'm going to look at the clock and give you 2 minutes to have that kind of conversation. All right, let's come back together, because I truly believe that the wisdom that we're all looking for has been inside of each of us all along. We just kind of need spaces like this where we're challenging ourselves to ask some really deep questions. So I'd love to hear from a few of you who heard something that we all need to hear. What is it that you're doing that your future self is so grateful for? Or what do you need to trust more fully?
Go ahead.
I would say taking a job and making money for college.
Awesome. So you could have the summer off, but instead you got a job and your future self is going, hey, thank you. That's really going to make things a lot easier for us. That's a great thing to be thankful for. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
Mine was saving money and paying off debt.
Oh, yeah. Your future self is like really happy about that. Paying off debt. So your future self doesn't have that to deal with. Lots of things to be thankful for. Anybody over here?
Getting married. we have to keep our finances in check. I need to read my emails and
I think your future self is pretty psyched that you made the decision to get married. Yay, John and Dandy. Thank you for sharing. I love that. All right. I know it's been such a short time, but already you might be thinking, I learned a lot today. Maybe you're realizing that keeping your dreams on the shelf comes at a cost because those dreams, those desires and nudges, they didn't accidentally land on your heart. They were placed there. And they're there for a reason. And maybe honoring those dreams is part of honoring more than just yourself, right? Maybe you're realizing that just because it didn't feel safe to share your dreams in the past doesn't mean there aren't safe people and safe places now. People who can encourage you, people who can hold your vision with you, people who can remind you of who you are when you forget. And maybe you've discovered something else, that sometimes we're so busy looking outside ourselves for answers that we forget how much wisdom already lives within us. And that speaking your dream out loud and allowing yourself to be witnessed helps you hear your own answers more clearly. Maybe you've learned that what you've been craving all along wasn't another answer, but permission. Permission to dream again. Permission to trust yourself again. Permission to become who you're being called to become. And that naturally raises the question, okay, Kristen, where do I go from here? So remember, you can grab that Future Self Activation Guide just by sending me that email that says guide in your first name. And that email is khartsings@gmail.com. But for those of you who want to experience this work more deeply, that's exactly why I created the experience called the Quantum Collective Joy Lab. So to me, quantum is the field of possibility and collective is coming together with shared imagination because we power that up when we come together. We amplify that energy when we come into a collective. Joy is the energy that transmutes everything, and lab just means it's that space, it's that place where we come to practice becoming. In other words, we stop trying to evolve alone because life is hard enough. You shouldn't have to carry your dreams alone. In April 2015, I sat with my mom as she transitioned. And almost exactly a year to the day, in April of 2016, I sat with my dad. And he passed away on April 26th. That was the same day that my father-in-law, my husband's dad, passed away 4 years earlier. April 26th. I mean, there's 364 other days, right? But April 26th was also our wedding anniversary, the day Jeff and I got married. Come on. I feel like life has a way of leaving breadcrumbs, little clues like that reminding us that there's so much more going on than we could ever really explain. So much happening in realms unseen. And then in January 2019, I sat with my sister. 3 people I loved deeply. 3 sacred goodbyes. And being present with people at the end of their life, it's a gift. And it's so interesting to hear how their questions change. Not, what else did I need to accomplish? But, did I love well? Did I enjoy this beautiful life I was given? Did the people I care about know how much they mattered to me? And what becomes crystal clear is this. Love matters. Connection matters. Presence matters. And joy matters. And here's what I know now that I didn't know then. Joy isn't something we find. It's something we create. It's an inside job. Because every emotion carries energy and every feeling has a frequency, whether we realize that or not. And when we intentionally generate gratitude, appreciation, love, enthusiasm, even in our imagination, our body begins responding as though that future is already happening. Our chemistry changes, our energy shifts, our lives begin changing. That's why I call this the alchemy of joy, because alchemy is the transformation of one thing into another, fear into faith, grief into gratitude, isolation into connection, hope into momentum. So whatever dream you're quietly putting back on the shelf, whatever conversation you've been postponing, whatever part of yourself that you may have convinced it's too late, I hope you'll reconsider. Because your joy matters. Your dreams matter. The way you feel matters. Because if you want to get more of what you want out of life, your joy is your job. And before you panic, I do not mean that you need to be happy all the time. That's not what I'm saying. When I say your joy is your job, I mean protecting your energy, honoring what lights you up, paying attention to how you feel, because nothing is more important than the way you feel, and you're the only one who gets to choose. And it's not because you're trying to make life easy, and it's not because you're trying to make difficult things disappear, but because you know that joy changes you and that you can choose joy more often. And when you change, so does everything else. Changed people change families and communities and the world, which brings me back to that Margaret Mead quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And maybe that's why we're here, to imagine the kind of world we want to live in together. What would that look like? To encourage what's possible for one another, with one another, to love deeply, to honor the dreams that have been placed on our hearts so that we can become who we came here to become. And to remember that we're not meant to do any of this alone. Because joy isn't something we find, it's something we create. And when we do, what you sense on the inside can begin to take shape on the outside. And that is the alchemy of joy.
Okay. Do you have time for questions?
Yes.
Fantastic.
So how would you recommend that people stay joyful with so much bad stuff going on in the world right now?
Isn't that interesting? Because there is a lot of bad going on in the world. So if you didn't hear Anna's question, it's like, how do you stay positive when there's a lot going on in the world that isn't really positive? And it's true, but it's what are you giving attention to? And so I can know that bad things are happening, but does that mean that I want to spend my time thinking about the bad that's happening? Instead, what if it's not being an ostrich and putting my head in the sand, it's saying, what is mine to do? And where would I want to choose to put my energy? Because if I'm responsible for my energy, and I know I'm impacted when I see what's happening in the world, and I'm always brought down and frustrated, I want to see that, I want to know that, but I'm choosing to put my attention and focus on what I can control, and that's how I feel. And when I am focused on how I feel, that impacts everybody. Thanks for asking that one.
I have a question.
Yes, Katie?
It's my understanding you do personal branding. Can you expand on what that means for an individual, and how does that tie into your Quantum Collective Joy Lab?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that too, because they kind of could seem a little bit like on different ends of the spectrum, but personal branding is about anybody who is wanting to be responsible for their reputation. Your reputation is what people think of when they think of you. And we have this formula at Brand Builders Group that reputation is your reach times your results. So you might have the best results on the planet, but if nobody knows about you, they can't do business with you. Now, I have a lot of people who are coming to me who want to be speakers. They're at a place where they're trying to draw more attention to whatever it is that they do for their work. So maybe they want to get on more stages, or they want to write a book, or they want to be on podcasts, and yet they're doubting themselves. They're holding their message in. They're not sure they have honed what their message is to be able to speak it clearly. And so to me, that's what the Quantum Collective Joy Lab does, is it helps you bring out who are you being called to be? How do you shape that unique message? And then it's Brand Builders Group that actually puts that into a formula so that you are able to cut through the noise and attract more of the right fit clients.
Thank you.
Yes.
What was your favorite thought leader in this space?
I think my favorite thought leader in this space, thanks for that question, Hayden, is Mike Dooley. Mike Dooley first became popular when he was in the movie and the book The Secret, but he has written Infinite Possibilities and so many books, to be honest. But one of his programs is to be an Infinite Possibilities trainer. So I became certified as an Infinite Possibilities trainer, and I really just help people understand that what you think about, you bring about. Thoughts become things. That is his tagline. So Mike Dooley's been super influential to me. Thanks for that question. Anything else? Yes, John.
So this is maybe more of a general topic. I don't think it has a clear answer, but when you're thinking about the past and like what brings me joy in the past to kind of move forward, how do you do that without getting stuck in nostalgia?
Oh, that's interesting because so your question is for the people who you didn't have a mic for is, if I'm supposed to be like thinking about things that brought me joy in the past, how do I not go down the rabbit trail of nostalgia? And there are people who have trouble thinking about, what am I here for? What do I really want? And they are focused on the negative and they want to change, but they don't know how to stop focusing on the negative. So bringing up a memory of the past where you felt joy is a really great thing. And so if you can write down the time I held the puppy for the first time, the time my sister had a baby, write down the things from the past that brought you joy. And in that moment, that's the joyful thing. And just keep focusing on that joy list because that is an emotion shifter. And if you have it written down and you're just focused on the list, it could keep you from kind of going too far down that pathway. Right, it contains it.
And then the opposite of that, of somebody trying to find that joy and they go down to a past memory that was negative when they did try to put themselves out there or they did try to change. How do you get over that hurdle of maybe something in the past that was embarrassing when you did try to do that?
I love that. And so you asked if somebody is trying to focus on the positive, but they're thinking of a memory where when they tried that, they maybe got their hand slapped or they had something really embarrassing happened and that did kind of make them tuck their tail between their legs. To me, I truly believe that everything that happens for me. And so when I'm thinking about that, how can I see that as a gift? I could take that experience and the way that that made me feel and allow it to shape how I show up going forward. Or I could say, hey, I may not understand why that happened, but I trust it happened for my good. Is there a way that I can say everything that happens is like a mirror to me to see what I need to work on? So if something pushed my buttons, I now know that I have a pushable button. Isn't that a good thing to know? What is in me that needs to work on in order to not have that button be pushable? So I like to look at the person who did that and not try and really understand too deeply, but just to trust this happened for me. I get to choose the perspective of how I can use it for my greater good going forward.
Thank you.
Besides like retreats and stuff like that, you know, what was your first like experience of a group where you had like a collective like goal and, giving your collective attention to something?
That's a really good question. So Anna asked, when was the first time I had the experience of kind of being in a group and doing this collective work? And I've been in book clubs. Like I read a book and I loved it, and there was like a book study, but it really left me hanging because it was just that book. And it's like, well, that book sparked this book or that movie or this thing. And so I used to hold these things called Sunday movie meetings, where after I would give the message at the church, I would then show a little movie, and the people who wanted to would just stay and have a conversation about it. So obviously this has been important to me for a long time, is come into community and talk about what sparks for you. And so when the book clubs that I was a part of kind of left me lacking a little bit, left me needing, that's why I created the Quantum Collective Joy Lab, because I want to be able to not have it be about the book, but we pick some source of inspiration, whether I saw a video or heard a podcast or somebody from the community might suggest something, and we'll just have a blurb. We'll have a blurb of what was the essence of that thing. We'll talk about it. We'll see what it sparked for us, what we wanted to call into being as a result of knowing this. And then more importantly in that group is, what do you want to do now? And how can we hold that vision? And we literally say, here's what I want you to imagine. And we spend time imagining that together. Einstein said that imagination is everything. It is the preview to life's coming attractions. And I believe that wholeheartedly. So why not intentionally imagine what we might want more of? Appreciate that question.
From the chat from Melinda, said not a question, but recalling one of my favorite Kristen quotes: "Be a magnet, not a megaphone." If you wanted to expand that statement.
Yeah, so be a magnet, not a megaphone, to me is when you are in your own peace, when you are experiencing more joy, when you're taking responsibility for not only how you feel, but what you're contributing to the room. Because when you walk into a room, you are impacting everybody. And so when you're radiating what you want more of, when you're owning that and you're claiming that and you're putting that out there, you are a magnet to the right fit people. And most people are in the world just saying, here I am, here's what I do, don't you want to work with me? Instead of really figuring out, what is it that the people that I'm trying to serve need? What problem do they solve? And how can I articulate that I understand what that problem is about? And when you can articulate, hey, I get that problem, people are going to assume you have the solution. So radiate that knowing and that beingness, and that really helps you be a magnet and not a megaphone. Thanks, Melinda. We're done here. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Back to Katie.
Thank you, Kristen. Wasn't that a great presentation that Kristen put on? So just to share again, we put on our Third Thursday events between February and September. They are live, and they are also on Facebook Live and through Zoom. We also record these and put them on our website at princeagencyllc.com. Under the About Us tab in the Educational TTCC, you will find pre-recordings from our past ones, including what Kristen put on about finding joy after grief, which was also a very impactful presentation. So on behalf of Jeff and Melinda and Anna, my name is Katie Widener, and I appreciate your attention tonight, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.